Good
Yeah,
evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. Uh, most welcome. Thank you so much for joining in for this webinar. Uh, this is Saurabh Malge, and I have with me Somesh here. Uh, I'll give a brief introduction about myself, and then I'll let Somesh have the mic to introduce himself. Right. I believe a lot of folks have joined already, so I'll directly begin with my introduction. My name is Saurabh Malgi. I have been a part of HeadSpin for about more than a year now, right? I work as a solutions consultant plus product consultant in more of ways, right? Wherein I kind of devise solutions for a lot of industries, right? From telco, media, automotive as well. I basically come from an automotive background. I've had my five to 4.5 years of experience in automotive electronics engineering, wherein I did a lot of coding and testing for automotive ECUs, which goes inside your vehicles. And secondly, I kind of got into a lot of startup enthusiasm, and that's when I joined HeadSpin, right? It's been a great journey, and I am very happy to talk today about a lot of enterprise application testing in that case. And I believe you guys have had a lot of experience around working with enterprise application. But in that case, the user experience, where exactly it matters and what matters in user experience is what I'll take you through. So, pull your socks and then I'll let Somesh introduce himself. So, yes, please go ahead.
thank you. Thank you, Saurabh, for that introduction. Hello, all. Welcome to this webinar of scaling enterprise applications for mobile testing. Myself, Somesh Ghosh, and I've recently joined HeadSpin as a senior solutions engineer. And coming as I can speak about my experience, I'm coming from lots of automation background, having total around 9 years of experience with automation frameworks, working with different tools and enterprise applications, namely like you can say SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce, right? Yeah, apart from that, yeah, I'm coming from good experience with mobile testing.
Mm.
It with you can say, namely with other tools as well, which is now engaging into the mobile space. So yeah, that's about me, and I'm really happy to speak and do this webinar with Saurabh on this topic, and we really welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you.
All right, that's a short but sweet, introduction. Somesh, thank you so much. We'll go ahead with the initiation of our enterprise application testing in that case, right? Before we get into the nitty-gritties of what is the testing, user experience testing we require, and what are the automation platforms that we have, and how is the performance testing in that case performed, right? The primary goal of testing all of these enterprise applications is to evaluate every aspect of these particular platforms from their right from beginning of these applications to the every aspect of their user journeys, right? But what really triggered the evolution of enterprise platforms in that case, right? We see a lot of platforms that began during the industrial revolution era or more than that, around the 1950s to 60s era, wherein a lot of basic functions were performed on a basic software level, or not just software level, a lot of basic note down notes in that case, right? The primary requirement of these enterprise software were around payrolls and inventory management in that case, right? 1950s and 60s saw a lot of emergence of factories and big industries, right? And these big industries needed a lot of inventory management, payroll management of all the employees in that case, and also a lot of business functions were handled on these platforms, right? Going forward, there was seen a lot of rise in enterprise ERPs platforms, right? And then we saw a lot of finance management of these particular industries was done on enterprise level applications. Also, HRM and production planning was kind of taking pace in these particular platforms, right? 19s and 70s and 80s saw a lot of introduction to a lot of different functions in that case in terms of enterprise platforms. It was not just confined to a lot of inventory management, but it was expanded towards finance and HRM management, right? But the primary thing to note here is that testing of these particular enterprise application during that era happened with a lot of manual testing, right? Of course, there wasn't a lot of automation involved, right? And then you saw a lot of defects which weren't covered in those particular testing scenarios. and a lot of functional level testing of these particular applications or platforms was carried out, right? Going forward in 1990s and 2000, we saw a lot of new emergence of software which were related to more of client-server architectures, right? These platforms were built on the entire idea of client-server architecture, right? Communication between the clients and the servers, and then establishing a complex system of these particular applications was, was seen, and then a lot of CRM and SCM-based applications were seen, right? This is when the emergence of automation testing began, right? 1990s and 2000 was one of the biggest era of automation testing, scalability, and regression, right? People wanted to test these particular applications and the user experience on these applications by establishing a regression safety net, right? You encounter a certain problem, you immediately resolve that particular problem by checking what kind of issues are going wrong, where exactly is it going wrong, right? In 2000s, we saw a lot of introduction to web-based applications, right? That's when kind of the www bubble began, and a lot of applications which were just mobile-based or which were just laptop-based or other, huge system-based application were shifted towards web-based application, right? And this particular gave a lot of introduction to accessibility of these platforms across different types of personas, not just personas, but different types of organization, different types of location-based organizations as well, right? And 2010 till now, we are seeing a lot of shift left of these particular applications, right? There is a huge adoption among cloud-based applications. There's a huge adoption among mobile revolution in that case, because a lot of users want seamless experience across all the platforms that they are using these applications on, right? It's not just confined to web-based platforms. It is not just confined to desktop. It's not just confined to laptops. They want these applications to give similar experience across all the platforms that they are using. I'll give you guys an example, right? We saw Slack, we are able to work on Slack on platforms like web-based browsers as well, right? Browser-based part of Slack, and then you will be able to use this particular software on your laptops or your desktop as well, right? So they have a third version wherein we are able to use Slack on our mobile phones as well, right? Now imagine the complexity of user experience management or the performance testing of these particular application across these three different platforms, right? The amount of complexity in the automation, the amount of complexity in the scripting of these every use case, every user journey, or every test case is as complex as anything, right? And that is when a lot of emergence into cross-browser testing, CI/CD integration of these platforms, and performance testing came into picture, right? This is basically a crude example, or rather crude view of how the enterprise platform began in that case, right? Right from 1950s to 1970s, 1990s, and 2010 to 2023 right now, right? Thank you so much for listening, and I'll go ahead to the next slide. But you know what brings into the need of these seamless user experience in enterprise application in that case, right? We see in a lot of enterprise application, when it comes to testing of these enterprise application, there is a lot of non-linear or complex user by a lot of sales people, a lot of individuals in SDR roles, right? A lot of individuals in roles like solutions consultancies, and even basic level usage of in partners, and even inside sales as well, right? A lot of personas in a single organization are using the same software in a different type of way, right? Everybody is using differently. That is when the complex users and evaluation part comes into picture, right? This complex user journey are sometimes quite cumbersome to test, or rather the user experience validation of these complex user journeys is quite cumbersome, right? Again, the uniformity of the user experience of these particular platforms is quite diverse across different platforms, right? You see, we are using Slack or HubSpot on mobile phones and also on desktops, right? So we want similar experience on these mobile phones and similar experience on these desktop as well, right? But imagine if even a single part of these particular software fails, then the entire organization operation becomes or comes to halt, right? For that day, for that week, or for that month as well sometimes, right? Imagine you'll not be able to record your sales cycle or your sales opportunity in HubSpot, even if your operation, a single operation is not working on that particular application, right? This kind of results in a lot of impact on the business, right? If in case, imagine you're not able to record a sales opportunity, or rather record multiple sales opportunities inside HubSpot across different functions, you will not be able to see the pipeline of your entire sales cycle in that case, right? You'll be able to see the basic level, but you won't be able to see what is happening in the entire sales operation in your organization. That is when comprehensive testing of these enterprise application is quite necessary, right? Again, we see a lot of abnormal behavior of these particular platforms across different platforms in that case, right? It could be laptops, mobile phones, and cloud as well, right? And again, at the end of the day, these particular enterprise applications are consumed across different levels of organizations, right? It's not just individuals, it's the CXO level folks are also using these platforms at a wider scale these days, right? A lot of CEOs or even CTOs are using HubSpot or even SaaS platforms like Zoho, right? Congratulations to Zoho for completing 25 years. But imagine the extent of these particular issues when it comes when they are arising in these enterprise applications, when they are being used by CXO levels people, then the experience kind of takes a big hit in that case, right? There comes a lot of review issues, there comes a lot of NPS issues for your particular platforms, and then you take a lot of big hit in the user experience of these enterprise applications that you're selling to your consumers at the end of the day, right? So these are basically the needs of seamless experience on enterprise application, and why you need to test your enterprise application extensively, not just in a functional manner, but also in a performance level, right? But you know what? At the end of the day, today, out in the market, there has been a lot of traditional methods being applied to test the user experience or the overall performance of these enterprise softwares, right? These particular traditional methods lack a lot of standardization of these tests, right? They lack comparing of these particular applications, enterprise application performance, and their usability across other standard applications that are being used widely across other geographies or other industries, right? The benchmarking part, or understanding the evaluation or understand the user experience of these platforms against your computer is taking a big hit in that case, right? There are no standard test cases that needs to be performed on a certain enterprise application that are defined out there in the market, which should always be applied when you are testing the user experience, right? These particular traditional methods have extremely high error rates, right? If I tell you, even if you are performing the same test across different platforms, you might not be able to see the similar output in that case, right? You'll be able to see different outputs, but those are particularly errors in a lot of test case scenarios, right? And these errors are a little bit difficult to measure also and to mitigate also, right? Secondly, imagine if your organization is testing these particular platforms, right? These particular platforms are not just consumed by QAs or rather product people or even engineers, right? It is consumed by the wider scope of this organization. HR folks are consuming these particular products. A lot of other smaller level employees or individuals are consuming these particular platforms. Hence, if you want to test these particular platforms, you have to measure the KPIs which are relevant for these personas who are using these platforms, right? Along with that, the personas who are testing these particular platforms should have their KPIs, their SLAs defined, right? And the traditional mitigation methods that are available in the market, or rather that are being evolutionized in the market for testing the user experience of enterprise application, lack a lot of coordination among teams, right? That we see a lot of we don't see a lot of hand holding among different teams while testing these application and the user experience and the performance of these applications, right? And at the end of the day, it lacks a lot of scalability, right? There comes a factor of automation a lot of case when we are testing any enterprise application or any application in that case, not just enterprise, right? And scalability is a sister of automation, right? Unless you have your test cases automated, you won't be able to achieve scalability as much as you require for testing these enterprise applications, right? And these are basically a standard set of mitigation methods and their challenges that you see, but it's not just confined to these four, right? Trust me, there are a lot of other issues that comes to picture when you are talking about testing enterprise applications with the traditional methods that are out there, right? But you know what? We have devised a certain maturity of these particular testing of enterprise application or user experience in evaluation of enterprise application at a crude level, right? What should be the first step in that case while you test enterprise application on any platform? Not just HeadSpin. I'm not talking about HeadSpin, but I'm talking about any user experience evaluation platform. What should be the primary method, right? You start with a lot of manual validation of these particular test cases, right? You take any enterprise application, you test it, but you start with manual validation. You run a certain user journey, you open the application, you run a certain user journey. You don't just talk about the script immediately, right? Just run a user journey and then check how these particular application or how these testing platforms are behaving, or what kind of outputs these particular platforms are giving in that case, right? Secondly, you start with a lot of automation, right? First, you start with manual validation, then you go ahead with a lot of automation of your test cases, right? While testing enterprise application, you need a lot of specialized automation. And it's not just Appium or Selenium, which would be required in that case, but you need integration with a lot of high grade level thick application testing platforms, which would be able to automate or manage the entire test suite of your particular application, and then help us evaluate these particular platforms, right? Thick applications are usually very difficult to test. With thick application, I mean, for example, the applications that are widely used on desktops, right? Applications that are used on laptops, right? Or any internal software application that is CRM or SCM tool, right? It's usually difficult to automate the functionality or the test cases as well, because every user journey that is carried out on these platforms is very complex. These user journeys are not just complex, but they have a lot of variety of user journeys involved internally as well, right? And it brings in a lot of complexity in terms of automation. But integration with software like or a lot of no code level softwares give you a lot of exposure to automation of these thick applications, right? You evaluate these particular platforms, you put automation, you do a lot of functional regression, right? You create a safety net. Whenever a certain issue occurs, these particular safety nets catch that issue and give back to your teams and check which particular part of that particular enterprise application is failing, right? You do a lot of exploratory testing in the fourth phase, wherein you explore different types of user journeys, you distribute these user journeys into different test cases and test these particular enterprise application across all those user journeys which your users are using in the case, right? Third, performance goals and budgets, right? This is a primary important factor in that case. You set a lot of goals when it comes to testing of these enterprise level softwares, right? You don't just go ahead and test any type of software without any sort of goal, right? You have some goals and limitations or expectations involved when you are testing of these enterprise level softwares, right? And once you perform these goals, you might as well wait for those goals to be achieved at the end of this testing cycle, right? You do a lot of user experience monitoring again, because monitoring is extremely important factor when you are testing any user experience evaluation platform, right? You may do a lot of automation, you may do a lot of validation with manual testing, but unless you are monitoring your softwares on a daily basis, on a regular 24/7 hour basis, you won't be able to catch the nuances of these particular issues that your applications or your enterprise platforms are going with, right? Imagine you miss a single amount or you miss a minority of your enterprise level software where the issue might be occurring. And this particular issue, gets released in a beta version. And then at the end of the day, you get a lot of, reviews from your customers, your consumers saying, okay, this particular functionality of your application is failing because we are using it wisely, unless you perform a lot of monitoring of your application or enterprise applications, right? And at the end of the day, you include these particular testing platforms as a part of your entire continuous testing environment, right? Wherein this particular testing user experience evaluation platforms becomes the bread and butter of your development process, right? You test your applications, your enterprise application before the release of these particular applications to your consumers, while you develop these applications, and after the release of these particular applications as well, right? Comparison of enterprise level applications before releasing them and after releasing them, and checking where exactly is the application failing and where can we fix, right? These are just the basic level of tests, or rather the maturity level of tests that you can perform, right from manual validation to including the testing platform across your entire CI/CD pipeline, right? Going ahead, this is basically a quick view or where exactly HeadSpin lies in that case, right? Starting with, a few years ago, a lot of user experience evaluation platform were called just device farms, right? We weren't exploring test automation. We weren't exploring quality of experience on video audio platforms like OTT media devices, and there was no AI involved. But HeadSpin is one of world's first AI analysis engine platform wherein it comprehensively evolves or evaluates every aspect of your platforms and gives out a brief view of everything that is happening, every issue that is occurring, and every RCA that is being performed on your platforms, right? HeadSpin easily integrates with a lot of test automation platforms or is supported with test automation platforms like Appium, Selenium, and even Tosca as well, right? There is possibility of large scale pass-fail reporting by not just performing functional validation, but also performance validation of these applications as well, right? The AI engine, which is developed by HeadSpin proprietary, engineers and our, product leaders, performs, interesting level or a great level of analysis of your platforms when we are testing them for the user experience. It kind of intuitively check which particular issue will be occurring on your platform and which particular issue can be encountered and which particular issue can be recommended in that case to mitigate with those problems, right? We'll be able to perform in-depth performance analysis of your application by checking the response time of your applications, or even call stack level, or even the function call level data as well, right? Wherein the entire function level data of your applications will be visible, and you'll be able to mitigate which particular function is failing and where should we fix the source code of these applications, right? HeadSpin platform integrates with a lot of platforms like Micro Focus and JMeter to perform load testing, right, and test authorization. Secondly, we become a part of your entire CI/CD pipeline by being, seamlessly integrating with your CI/CD platforms like Jenkins, Puppet, or even Jira. The moment you encounter a problem on your application, it will be directly, directed to your Jira, and then your engineers or your tester will be able to mitigate with those particular issues immediately, right? A comprehensive view of where HeadSpin lies, basically across the entire end-to-end idea or end-to-end testing of your enterprise level applications, right? This is basically how do we automate the entire testing platform, the testing of your enterprise level applications by integrating with a lot of no-code level tools and a lot of test platforms like Tosca, TestIM, or even LeapWorks, right? The entire test suite and test authorization, test build, or even test case generation of every test that is being carried out on your platform is created by platforms like LeapWorks, Tosca, and TestIM, right? At the end of the day, the entire performance and analysis evaluation of your platform happens on the HeadSpin platform, right? So I'll give you the explanation in 2 words. First, the test authorization, the test suite happens on platforms like LeapWorks, TestIM, Tosca, and the evaluation, the monitoring, the regression analysis, the HeadSpin AI analysis happens on the entire HeadSpin platform across different locations that we are present at. We are almost across 100+ locations across the world, and will be able to ship these particular HeadSpin proprietary application or platforms to your location as well, right? Wherein you'll be able to integrate with Tosca and TestIM type applications and also perform a lot of completely automated process and continuously monitor your applications by not just performing the functional testing, but also a lot of performance testing, right? We integrate with Grafana dashboards, wherein entire testing that you perform on your applications and your enterprise application will be comprehensively viewable in a complete manner on these Grafana dashboards. You'll be able to monitor every KPI that you want to measure and every custom KPI that your application should be able to measure on, right? At the end of the day, these particular evaluation happens on two platforms, wherein the entire authorization happens here, and the entire performance monitoring and execution happens on the HeadSpin platform, right? Going ahead, I'll request my fellow friend Somesh here to start with the platform demo, wherein he'll be introducing with the team entire audience with the platform introduction. Right, we'll be talking about performing a lot of live tests on the application. Right, he'll be able to test different types of devices, open how to operate these devices, and how to take testing for just enterprise application for today. Right, the platform has a lot of features, right from Appium Inspector installed inside it, framework integrations with different types of automation platforms, different types of metrics that you want to capture, logs, time series view, and entire performance monitoring, along with the video recording of your tests. Right. We'll also touch upon the dashboarding capabilities and let you know how we can integrate with entire DevOps platform, DevOps toolchain of your organization. Right. Over to you, Somesh. Thank you so much for everyone. If I'll see if I have any questions in that case, just give me a moment. Okay, I believe there is one question. Does HeadSpin provide simulators, emulators for testing or only real devices? HeadSpin does not provide simulators or emulators in that case. We only test on real devices. With real devices, I mean applications or devices that you or your users are using on a daily basis, right? For example, your users are using Xiaomi phone, or even users are using Apple iPhone, right? You would want to test your applications on these devices, right? How is the user experience of my users, of my application on these users on Apple iPhone, right? So HeadSpin will be able to test entire journey of your application on these real devices across real locations on real networks, right? I hope that question answers, right? Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, not really. Okay, Somish, if you could just take over. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Saurabh. That was really nice of you that for explaining the things regarding the enterprise applications, and we really like the way we see it. So let's start with let's see these things, whatever we talked about the platform and things. Let's see them in action, right? So
Amazing.
uh, let me know once my screen is available.
Yes, visible. Thank you.
Great. So yeah, as you can see in front of me, right? So this is the HeadSpin platform. Okay, so whatever you see, whatever devices that we have in real, so these devices are hosted in 100 plus locations and cities and countries. So these devices are given access through this UI platform that you see. So this is a simple UI platform. On the right hand corner, you see um, the username and the settings for a particular user and the team. Then on the middle of the screen, you can see this is something host. So as Saurabh already mentioned in his talk, that Headspin has the devices set up in various locations. You can see 100 plus locations. So these are the hosts. You can see there are some of the hosts where the devices are being hosted. You can see the location and the country name. So yeah, so currently, this org is having these many hosts aligned to. If you have your particular devices, so you will see, all the locations where you have these devices hosted. Or else, if you have an on-premise, so it will be moreover your office location or some hub address of that. So yeah, this is about the host screen. As we see, this is the second screen with its devices. We are into the remote control. So you see on the left hand corner, we have quite of options, right? Starting from team settings, then usage, home. Then we got a remote control where we are currently looking at, and then we have performance monitoring, and dashboards. So let's see them one by one, and we are already, started with the remote control. So these are the devices on the screen. So we see these devices are already assigned to this org. You can see some of the Chrome uh, browser devices. Then we have Android mobile phones with different devices versions and OS versions. We have some iPhones and iPads as well. So yeah, these are hosted on different locations in different geographical locations, you can say, in order to give you a more scalability in terms of when you want to test your apps in different with something with the network carrier or something with some geolocation test, right? So you want to know the user experience exactly where for example there's an app which wants to operate in India, Bangalore, right? So they want to understand how's your app is going to work, or it goes to respond when it is hosted for this location. So yeah, this gives a very much kind of a extra hand to the mobile space. So these devices are also coming up with the physical phone number. As you can see, this one device which has a phone number, we can go inside that. So before that, you can see this is a start button where we can start this device. We have options to start with APM or capabilities, or you can edit the APM capabilities, just that we're going to talk more. And on the right hand side, if you just scroll on the screen, you see more information about the device ID, the host name, the device address. Basically, this is the device address. And then you have a carrier information if it is having any carrier, like for example, this device is carrying a Vodafone SIM card or VI India SIM card. So it will show you if it's a network type of LTE, GSM, Wi-Fi. So these information is all available for the particular device, what kind of platform version it is into. So yeah, you can see also the phone numbers. Yeah. So this is all the device information, pretty much handy on the screen itself. And for example, if you want to choose any of the device, and on the right hand corner, you can see this the three dots where you can just hover and you or click on it, you can see that automation configurations, right? So yeah, you can see the WebDriver URL and the desired capabilities. These capabilities are basically these APM capabilities that are going to be used. So we have, two ways to connect to the devices. One is a WebDriver URL, and then we have one more is a load balanced URL. So yeah, these are two URLs where you can, connect to the device. This is kind of a port 443, which is open port, and this is something which comes with default some standard ports that is assigned to particular web drivers. So yeah, this is more about the screen. Let's get into the devices and see how we can, perform a live test with this device. So I'm going to start this device here. So it is just cleaning up all the, previous sessions and making it up to, as a fresh start for yourself when you start any test. So this is basically a real device which you see on the screen on the left-hand corner. This is not a simulator or not an emulator. Whatever actions we are performing here is actually happening on the real device. Okay, so we have this is the Apple iPhone, and we can see on the left hand side we have some options, like we have apps where it gives you a hand where you can install the app from your local machine to the device directly from here. So you can just simply browse according to your requirements, and you can upload the .ipa file because this is an iPhone and Apple iOS, right? And then we have something called automation, the automation information that we saw outside of this screen. And then this is the place where we take the screenshots, right? You can access the screenshots while you test. Then these are the logs, which generates the logs, and you can do some the real-time logging here as well. So yep, And these are some advanced settings. So this is a very interesting part with what you see, right? It's a mini remote feature that has been available with HeadSpin platform. And these are the device hardware buttons that you can access directly from the cloud UI, right? So this is a power button. This is mute, volume down, volume up. You can see you can also set the image quality that you want to go with. And then we have this mini remote. This mini remote feature is basically, we have observed that many times there's issue with uh, testing with cloud devices, or maybe when you're accessing a device on a cloud, right? So it's kind of sometimes it's very hard to um, navigate through the applications or the buttons, right? Or lagging is there with some internet issues. So we have provided this mini remote feature, or you can, also go to this particular URL if you don't have a scanner. So you can scan this and you can actually operate this from your um, own device. So you can, once you operate from own device, right? I can just try that. For example, let me just connect to this. I'm just connecting in the background. Um, all right. So you can see my mouse pointer is on the right hand side, but I can still move the screen of the device, right? So this is what I'm doing from my local phone, right? Which I've opened through this mini remote. So this is something a very good feature for manual testing that we want to perform. All right. So yeah, you see some options here. We have we can also set the device temperature. We can also Okay, so as you can see that I have done a full screen, and you can come back with the escape. Okay, all right. So now we see that these are the options of opening in a remote, and then we have a start recording session where we can start the actual session of your test case. So let's start with that. And I'm going to talk about more. Before that, I can show you, the things that we talk about, right? The information about devices, right? So this is the carrier information. You see the phone number, the network, which is currently connected to a Wi-Fi network. It's not a carrier network, but yes, we can control these things, from the from your side, like locally, uh, into the cloud. So then we have this feature called HS remote debug. This is HS Connect, which basically whenever you want to connect with your device, which is hosted, and you're accessing it through this UI. If you want to have a connection set up locally with your command line in CLI, right, you can simply connect with the remote debug with this command. So you can download this and start using it locally, and you can also set up a local environment tunnel for yourself in case you want to go through some proxy or to your local environment. Then we see some device related information, right? Batteries, and if it is in charge or not. Then we see some disk space and other devices information, right? OS version and all. Perfect. Then we talked about, this APM inspector. This is a very cool feature which has been introduced here and this platform with APM inspector, where we can directly, start. This is a very good feature when it comes to automation. You have already, started with your manual validation, and you have started with the manual testing, but now you want to extend your test cases to automation, right? So how are you gonna start that? So this feature really helps for that, right? So let me just show you that feature. But before that, we're gonna go to the device, and once you go back, you can see that we have stopped the device. We can also start with the APM, or we can also start the APM inside. So Let's go inside this. Let me see if I have that app. So this device is basically in India, Coimbatore. This is very important for any organizations as well, like when we connect to particular server locations, or which should be very near, or something nearest one, because that is even when you connect with any cloud computing solutions, right? So they always make it a preference that you should be to your nearest location, because that doesn't give you any performance issues. I think this device is having some issues or some setup issues, maybe going through that. Let me check another device. Let me grab another one. Oh, this. So it's starting with the APM session now. Might take a while. So I think this app this is taking some time to uh, work around. So let me go with some other device. Maybe I can go with some other device here. We can start this. So this is the Samsung Galaxy S23. It's an Android device, and we don't have a carrier here, but it is connected with a Wi-Fi network, as you can see. So this is the Android device available. Now, as I was talking, like to start the recording session, or we can also have APM inspector in place, right? So let's start with the recording session. Let's start with the session recorders. Okay. So how you can perform a manual testing, for example, in an app, right? So here, if I see, I don't have any particular app, but we can simply go with the Slack, maybe a simple, maybe a sample app, so we can start recording. So this is two options that we got when we start a recording session for your test, right? So this is one with a network, which actually captures your network related information, which all your app has made with the device and or without network. Okay. So if you want to capture network related information for your application testing, you can start with network or without net. If you don't want that, you see that this user flow is needed without a network, you can go with that as well. So these two options are available. For this test, we're gonna go with network, maybe. Let's go with some different app. I would like to. And the best feature is also, you can see, right? You can also upload an pre-release app, or you can also download a released app. So let us see this. So we are already in this Google Play Store. I guess there's some issue with this device as well. There's some issues going on. Sorry about that. So the recording has already started. As you can see, the recording is going on, and there's some issues with the platform, or maybe my internet. Okay, came back, I guess. Yeah, camera. All right. So yeah, let's open the Slack app as we had the Slack app, right? And we can just go down. Maybe we are not making any, uh, actions. We are just clicking on the options that has been available. Okay, right? And we can go back and close this app. We can also close everything here. All right, let's stop this recording. And once you stop this recording, you see this, you get the option of, to view waterfall or issue UI. So this is basically where you see the performance, all the captures has been, given. So once you click on the waterfall UI, you were directed to the page where you have all the performance metrics captured. So this gives you a view of what exactly this is an X-ray view basically to your mobile app and the device. You can see the metrics that has been captured for this test. So we just perform a live recording, a live test for just we just did a hovering over here, right? So we didn't do any network capture as such, because we didn't made any calls in that case. So let me see if this device is back. Then if I can show you a real time uh, things that it make, right? So or else you can also search device here. You can just put whatever location or something which you relate to, which will be helpful for your search. You can just type in there. So I searched with India and I tried to open this app, this mobile device. Let us see. Okay, it's loaded. All right. So we are able to I think we don't have that app. What exactly I wanted to show you. But what I can show you is the performance section. So basically the same screen which you see, but you will see, quite a good things. You can see the exact view of how the waterfall UI looks and the performance metrics. Yeah, I'm talking about this. So this was the same test, I guess, which was carried out as right. So I'm showing you this matrix. So you see this matrix. This is coming from 130 plus KPIs that HeadSpin had developed. So and on the below bottom here, you see these are the impact time, impact count, the video quality, blurriness, and these also the audio related KPIs. If your test or the device is supporting the audio, so it will capture that. So you see the network packets and the network information, the CPU usage, right? So these details, has been provided when you actually do testing. So on the right hand side, there's a recording, which is of the video recorder of that particular test, which you can also share and with other team members. And on the left hand side, you see the impact score, right? And also we see some downloads. So here you get to download, different types of log files and supported files that is generated out of your test. Like for example, network related information or memory or device. Also, we have HAR files, which supports gives you the HTTP responses. And then on the basis of these issues, we generate an impact score. Basically, impact score goes like poor, good, and then excellent. So poor is basically 0 to 49, and then 50 to 79 it's fair, and 80 to 100 it's all good and excellent. So this is what it gives you. So this is all comes from all the data points that we have generated or we have captured while the execution. So these are the issue cards will be generated like if there is an issue. So this gives you the overall the health score of your application when it comes to the user experience and how it performed in an exact manner right there. So where it was, you see these issue cards and issue pointers, right? Where we have slow DNS query, domain shredding, slow server related issues. We can expand that. We can view them in a table format if you want, just for for your convenience, or you can also download the CSV format for understanding or integrating with other things. So yeah, and when you see these impacts, so that's telemetric data, right? And when you scroll down, you see there are log exceptions which has been captured, and also the network calls which were made at that moment. So these are, like this REST calls. This blue color is all REST calls. You can see on the left and right, right inside the calls it made. Also pointed to the endpoints, which endpoints it pointed to, and what is the wait time. Is there any wait time? If it is, then it will show you. And yeah, information, the source, destination, start time, and time, right? So this is moreover, understanding what, just not testing or functional testing of the app, but also getting the information related to the user experience and the quality. So how your user is basically, you know, having the getting this experience of this app well in a live environment. So this session can be shared, and you can also compare these sessions with your current session, right, or any other session which you have performed earlier. You can compare them and to the results. So yeah, this is moreover, and this matrix are, if you want to understand how we generate this matrix, and you can simply go to this pointer and understand how we are generating. So there are some, key measures and parameters that are used to create these reports, and this is all AI and ML based. So this is just a magic, right? Yeah, talking about that, then we have, a performance monitoring board where we created performance monitoring for your user flows, which you can create. And for every user flows, like it will create a data for the performance, right? For example, if you want to have what impact you want to check all issues and impact, right? And you can see the timeline. It creates a graph related to that performance issue impact.
We
So
can also
yeah,
jump to the dashboard, Somesh, because we only have
yeah,
3.4 minutes. We'll directly jump to
sure.
the dashboard. And
So this
probably
is
that
a
is the
very good
critical part
thing.
of what we offer, right?
Yeah. So this is a very important and a very highlighting thing that we offer. So these are like we give you a Grafana dashboards of the test. I can show you a real-time dashboard right away. Give me a moment. Yeah. It's loading up. So you can build this dashboards, beautiful dashboards with all the information on the test, and you can see the comparison between the iOS test, Android test, total test, which passed or fail. Then you have, the flows, what are the locations you have executed the test around, right? And all this information you can see. So these are like real-time data, which is getting captured with this PostgreSQL. So we are creating a data pipeline to create this dashboards for you, and you can also customize your dashboards as per your requirements. So yeah. So I think, yeah, I'm good with my demo, I guess. So we can uh, go to the Q&A session if people have questions.
Yeah, we have a few questions. Maybe I'll read out some of the questions to you, Somesh. I'll take a few. Right, there is a question around is HeadSpin replacing Jenkins, right? Apparently, we are not replacing Jenkins in that case. We are integrating with Jenkins platform. Jenkins platform is kind of used for continuous integration and continuous development, I believe. And when in the process of continuous integration, you would be able to test your platforms with the help of HeadSpin platform by integrating HeadSpin with Jenkins, right? So while you develop your applications, while you build on top of it, you'll be able to on the side also test these particular new builds that you are putting on these applications, right? And understand how every build is adding different types of user experience issues on your platform, right? Next question, I just have this question is I'll probably direct it to you, Somesh. Will HeadSpin be needed for just mobile testing? What about web or Selenium? Selenium, I believe, the test framework that they are talking about.
Yes, yes. So basically, when it comes to headspin, right? So we are mobile device cloud, but it doesn't only restricts to mobile, but we also have browser-based automation. So when you want to perform your browser-based automation for Google Chrome or Safari, right? So in that case, you need only a browser, desktop browsers. So we do support that, and we support Selenium frameworks, obviously. So we can do that if you're talking about web.
Okay, interesting. And then can we perform interruption testing in HeadSpin? Padma asked. I believe with interruption, Padma means that you introduce a certain problem or other issue in a certain test case, and then you try to pass that particular test case on that particular application, right? Interruptions means what I believe is different types of issues that you encounter in your application by recreating these issues, right? I believe you can do that because it's just the modification of these test automation platform or the test scripts, and then you'll be able to run these test scripts on the platform that you intend to, right? And then run these interruption tests at the end of the day, right? That should be possible. Yes. And next question, just probably this would be the last question, right? Can you provide any relevant use cases or case studies about HeadSpin being used in testing enterprise applications, right? Will you be able to take this, Somesh? Any examples, any
Yeah.
case studies around?
Yeah, the case studies we do have, right? For Headspin side, we have the case studies with many enterprise customers. But if in this scenario, in this webinar, if I would like to give an example for a use case, is that for example, when there is a company, for example, there's an energy company, or there's a company like General Motors, or like the big companies which has or which is having a working in a worldwide locations, right? And they have their field agents, right? And
Mhm.
you see nowadays people people used to use a diary or something, and people prepare some notes for
Correct.
going to the customer outlets, also when insurance companies, when you talk about, right? So they have enterprise applications, SAP applications or Salesforce applications. So when their field workers go to the customers, right, so they're using some devices, so they want to be make sure, right, for their employees, and also for the complete operations and sales, to you know so there should be no breakage, there should not be a leakage, right? So for this information securely, then doing this, so where Headspin fits in, right? For these enterprise applications, we need to test them across all the geography locations, right? Because it's a enterprise application, and working worldwide. So in that case, how would you prefer a vendor where a vendor is already, or a product which already supports, already gives you that access? Okay, we have this platform already created, and you just pick up your devices which you want with the particular OS versions you want to go for, and yeah, boom, you can start your enterprise application testing. So that's how it fits, I guess.
Interesting. So you mean to
Given
say that
some
a lot
kind
of
of, yeah.
field agent applications that are used across different fields, which are used across different individual level application can be tested on the platform, right?
Sure, yeah.
All right.
And
We'll
these
be
are
able
these
to
are very
test.
important for
Yeah, go ahead.
operations, right? Like if you need some data, like these operations are very much impactful for the whole business.
Oh,
So it
definitely.
starts from the on the ground level, and ends up, the data is all traveling through, from ground to the top level. So that's how you need to mitigate them.
Okay, interesting. All right, I believe we are at the end of our session. Thank you so much for attending the webinar, everyone. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. You might have the contacts. Thank you so much, Padma. Thank you so much, everyone else as well. It's been a pleasure talking about the platforms, and then we'll meet soon. All right. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.